Commissioner Dillard,
Present.
Commissioner Gathua,
Present.
Commissioner Harris,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Krebs,
Here.
Commissioner Merritt,
Here.
Commissioner Nobis,
Here.
Commissioner Rivera,
Here.
and Commissioner Traore.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. We'll start off with reading of the Native American land acknowledgements. I'll go ahead and read it. And it says, we meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk. And because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossess indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work toward equity, restoration, and reparations. Next, we will go to the approval of the meeting minutes from October 20th. Do I open up for public comment? Anyone online or in person? Okay, we'll move to you, Steph.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Yes.
I second.
I didn't see who seconded. I'm
It
sorry.
was Lauren.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, it's been a
It's been
while.
properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Commissioner Dillard,
Yes.
Commissioner Gathua,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Krebs,
Yes.
Commissioner Merritt,
Yes.
Commissioner Nobis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rivera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Traore.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, public comment of items not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the room with us right now that would like to make any public comments? Anyone online? Okay, we will move forward to agenda number 6, which is the Iowa City Community School District Elementary School Performance Incident, and that was from Commissioner Nobis. So Sikaus, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I wanted to talk about an incident that happened at my daughter's school, Shimmick Elementary. And what I believe actually is not just Shimmick Elementary, but other elementary schools throughout the district. It was an unfortunate incident. It was an incident that could have been that we could have kept from happening. And so that's what I'm very confused about. It was a performance that was put on by a Shimmick school that I would say was culturally inappropriate, insensitive, and bordered on the line of racism and playing Indian. And this goes back to a book that was brought into the district called Fry Bread. And the book is written by a Native American author who they brought into this school district, I don't know, like maybe a month or two ago to read the book. And the school district then invited another local Indigenous person, Daniel Velasquez, to actually serve fry bread at this event. And then the children, got T-shirts and went back to their schools. And over the next month, they practiced or worked on a performance, or what I thought was going to be like a demonstration or, something about the book, to honor the book. So I guess what really surprised me is, first of all, as an Indigenous person, as a Native American person, I was very excited because, things like this don't happen very often, where this very white centric community, uplifts indigenous culture and traditions, at all. I mean, there's, a lot of work being done within the Black community and the Latina community, but in terms of, indigenous culture and traditions, that just doesn't happen very much within the realms of what the city of Iowa City does. And so, I was very excited. I sent my daughter in her ribbon skirt and her braids and her hair ties, and I was there to film it. And I thought they were going to read the book and maybe, I don't know, I couldn't even imagine what they were doing. I thought they were just going to read the book and the kids were going to talk about it and I don't know, maybe sing or something like that. But it turns out that they actually emulated a powwow and like traditional drumming and sang gibberish. Like, I don't know. So I was, quite taken aback by this and approached the teacher afterwards who put this together and asked, where did you get this from? Like, how did you come about to doing this? And of course I was very polite about it, even though I was quite upset. And she said, well, I know some people in Chicago. I know some natives in Chicago. And I was like, that wasn't really quite an answer. I mean, that was not the answer. That's not the answer you should be giving. I mean, just because you know some natives, that doesn't mean you can do this sort of thing. So, and then immediately after, like always, like any event that, we go to or anything that happens, one of the staff members came up to me and said, my grandmother is Cherokee, or great grandmother is Cherokee, and all my sisters have black hair. I mean, it just happens all the time. It's a weird thing. So that was, I was already agitated. Then I went up to the principal and asked, told him what had happened. And he just, was obviously, upset. So I've been emailing him, and the teacher basically got this idea from a book that talks about different indigenous practices and like cultural practices across the country. It's a problematic book because it's almost like giving people permission to carry out some of our sacred traditions. But so the problem with this is just because it's in a book, it doesn't mean it's okay to do it, right? So, they were doing something like what is called a friendship dance, which we would call a round dance. But also like the kids were drumming on these like snare drums and some kind of other like plastic kind of drum thing, and singing some kind of sound that is not a word in our language, any of our languages. And like, first of all, like that's like an act of prayer for us. So like, you don't just go copy that, it's like going up and, I don't know, carrying out some sort of Catholic ceremony with the host and drinking some wine or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something so people can understand like the context of that. I was, then the kids came in afterwards and danced, and some of them like were obviously pretending to powwow dance because apparently the teacher had shown them a video of a powwow. And my daughter told me this, that the teacher had shown them a video of a powwow. My daughter knows what powwows are because she's been to many of them. And, it's like I don't know why you would show children a powwow and ask them to do that. Like it's not like the dancing, the dancing is not something you just, you just go do, right? There's cultural meaning behind it. So I want people to understand that this is something akin to the blackface incident that happened at ICCSD, but yet it's sanctioned by the school district. And apparently this didn't just happen at Shimmick, it happened at another school that I know of. Another Native American person told me. I haven't gotten the information yet. I want people to understand that Indigenous people face the highest rates of erasure and tokenization in this country beyond what even I think this particular commission can even comprehend if you're not Indigenous, because we deal with these things on a daily basis, and it's okay. Like, it's okay for children to go to the Iowa City School District dressed up in our regalia that they buy, at a costume store. It's okay for children to wear, red face, if they're pretending to be part of a sports team. It's okay for children to mock our culture, and it's sanctioned by the school district. It's okay to teach them mythologies about our history in the textbooks, and also show I literally have textbooks in the classroom that erase Indigenous history, like my son's fourth grade social studies textbook that basically showed the founding of the city of, I believe it was Seattle or San Francisco, with a boat showing up and building a city, right? Like, it literally erases and whitewashes the history of this country and what Indigenous peoples have experienced. It's okay for teachers, depending on their own political and or cultural beliefs, to talk about Columbus, to teach Columbus to teach on Columbus Day if they want, to excuse me, 1 second.
I know the feeling.
Sorry about that. I have kids.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Yeah. And so it's okay for them to, for instance, when my son was in kindergarten, to go against my wishes as a parent, because I told them that if they were going to teach anything inappropriate concerning Thanksgiving, the mythology of Thanksgiving, or anything about Columbus, or if they're going to have inappropriate Halloween costumes during Halloween, that I was going to take my son out of those on those days, and then have the teacher completely ignore that when I caught her, because I came into the room and found all these little pinups of these like pilgrims and natives with like a little feathers, and tomahawks and teepees, and the Wampanoag aren't even from. They didn't even that this like mythology comes from the Plymouth Rock area. They didn't even use teepees, but beyond that, caricaturizing Indigenous people down to these really horrible stereotypes and perpetuating these mythologies is very harmful. And so what happened, a couple weeks ago is not anything out of the ordinary from what I've been experiencing through the ICCSD. And I'm not the only person. I've been speaking with a youth who is in high school, who has suffered for years from like a lot of incidents like these perpetuated by teachers themselves, by the school district itself. So I have the video of what happened. I'm waiting for a friend to blur the faces of the children, because obviously this is not an issue the children need to be directly involved in. And I have already spoken about it openly at a Johnson County meeting where I gave a presentation on Truthsgiving. I haven't had time to contact the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee yet, but I will. Mary Krebs on this commission is very well aware of all of this, as she is my friend and fellow commissioner and fellow Indigenous commissioner. So she's, she may want to also speak to this. And there are other Indigenous people in the community that have been contacted, and we will, be doing something like at least writing a letter about this incident. And I have yet to put together, all this information in like one comprehensive document. But it's like, I'm busy. So this kind of sucks. Like it's just another thing on my plate. But, I want people to take this very seriously, because this is what children are going to think is okay to do as they grow up. This is why we have entire sports teams that like encourage people to wear red face. Imagine if there were entire sport teams that still wore blackface. I really want to put this into context and the kind of visceral, the kind of pushback that would happen. And I just say this because I'm very frustrated at this point as an Indigenous person, as a parent, in this community, that like this stuff is just okay. I did speak to another parent that was there that is Indigenous. And he's upset. So hopefully I can get a statement from him as well. But the reason I'm telling this to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is, first of all, I demand some sort of reparations and truth and reconciliation out of this as a member of the Iowa City community. But secondly, I want to use some of our budget to buy books called 500 what is it called? The Next 500 Years, or give me 1 second. I'd like to buy a book for every teacher and principal in the district called Rethinking Columbus, The Next 500 Years. It's a book for teachers. And it was released in 1991, but it's been updated. And it's a book that changed the way the discovery of America is taught in classroom and community settings. It's for K to 12. The new edition has over 100 pages of new material, including a role play trial of Columbus, materials on Thanksgiving Day, resources, historical documents, poetry, and more. It will help readers replace murky legends with a better sense of who we are and why we are here. And celebrates over 500 years of the courageous struggles and lasting wisdom of Native peoples. I've bought this book every year for my kids' teachers. And like I said, I've still had issues. And like, I'm really tired of spending my own money on this. And I think that it's time that we use some of this budget finally and like just do like one thing, and that's to buy, like these books for every teacher in the district. So that's my motion, I guess I want to put forward. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Commissioner Nobis. My initial thought was just, I was going to ask you, what can we do? So thank you for giving us some action items. I would like to ask Stephanie, are we able to access the budget at all yet at this moment?
I mean, currently, because of the low cost of the TRC, they come off of the office's budget. A request like this, and I'm looking through the resolution, I kind of think would have to be budgeted for in terms of going to city council. But if you want to have further discussion while I look back at the resolution, and I will give input here in a second. How's that?
I'll let everyone discuss if anyone wants to say something.
And let me add one thing. I would like to require that all teachers get a specific training on like Native American people in particular, because like this district is still allowing exceedingly racist things to happen that aren't happening, to other folks, to other populations. So thank you.
Go ahead, Lauren.
This is Commissioner Merritt. I wanted to hit my head on the table when you were saying that. And I think when I would actually like to approach the school board at a school board meeting to, talk about this also with, the book. First, I would like to see them for their budgets to pay for the book and be part of a curriculum. It technically shouldn't be, our budget. I mean, but if they're not going to do it, then yes, I think it's something we should maybe think about. But I think definitely going on at the school board meeting with agenda and discussing the issue, and also talk about a training session for the teachers. They have in-service days. There's no reason why they can't do an in-service day to talk about this. And yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for sharing, Sikawis. You certainly don't need my like validation or affirmation that like what you're describing was a completely horrific and racist portrayal of Indigenous and Native American peoples. And I'm sorry that you had to witness that and that your family was implicated in it. I am glad that Commissioner Merritt brought up sort of formalizing some sort of presentation or coming to the ICCSD board, because I do think that that's a crucial body that has, exercises power over, the school district. And I also agree with the idea of putting pressure on them. If they are making, as a school district, if commitments towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, they absolutely should put their money where their mouth is. I think that this definitely should be a specific request. And I also think that we can put it in the context of, and we expect then the Iowa City Community School District is going to create a recurring budget to continue educating its teachers on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So that this doesn't, we don't have to keep like asking one time for them to teach themselves or learn about why they did things that were wrong. And, we have to make those presentations every single time, but that, they're become, they develop some sort of annual fund for more education in the future along lines like these. I certainly think that we can pass a recommendation should the Iowa City Community School District deny the recommendation or request to fund a project like this. And I think that if we do make that recommendation, we just need some numbers of like how many teachers this would be, what the number would be, right? The other thing that I was just thinking about as you were speaking, Commissioner, was these are the types of stories that like our commission was created to hear. And so what we do with this information is absolutely a reflection of, what our commission hopes to achieve in our roles. I want our commission to be one that, honors voices. I want our commission to be responsive to needs and concerns. And I also want us to, be creating lasting systems of change within our community so that we can continue to continue towards, a better Iowa City. And so that's how I'm trying to sort of think about how we will respond to this. I think that we have initial ideas of, going to the school district, and I'm really glad that you brought up some specific educational materials for them. And so I think that this is a really good model for us to consider.
This is Commissioner Harris. So I'm going to echo the same thing that's been said already. The only thing about it is that we're going to have to go through the school district and put pressure on them to make these trainings that these teachers need. And also, when I was listening to the story that you told about the incident that happened, I almost wanted to pound on the table myself because being an African-American male myself, I can feel the sentiment and how, the racism, it needs to be dealt with. And it needs to be addressed, and teachers need to be educated. And as far as, getting the money to get the books, and I don't know how that's going to work, and we're going to have to go figure that out, how that goes. But those books, they need to be necessary. The training for the teachers, it needs to happen, but we're going to have to put pressure on them because the Iowa City Community School District is the body that's going to make that decision. So. And with that, I'm Leo. So,
thank you. What I'd like to respond to with that is that the reason I came to us first about these books is because we have a budget we haven't used, And if we go through the school district, it's going to be a very long process. So, I mean, that's my thought on that. And then, yes, I will be going to the school board. We will be going to the school board, as a group of concerned Indigenous peoples to present. But, we want to make sure that we have everything documented before we do that. And I hope that, I absolutely hope that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission can perhaps write a letter of support or something. I don't know. Yeah. So we can think of whatever ideas come up here would be amazing.
Go ahead, Mohammed. That's okay.
So I just wanted to bring up the factor of if it's not going through the schools to get the books and it's rather our budget. We're talking about giving materials to teachers and administrators to read and study. I just don't know, like in terms of legalities, like if that would be a conflict, if it's our budget buying it for them rather than like their employers approving it to be given to them or purchasing it for them. So just one thing I want to bring up there.
I would assume we would obviously talk to them first, like we would, we're not just going to buy them and give them, right? Like it would be like something we would do in tandem with them, but you know how tight school budgets are. So that's why I was worried that, asking them to buy these books would probably be like a big lift. So that's just some thoughts I was having.
I think Wangui had her hand up real quick.
This is Wangui for purposes of recording. And I want to express my feeling of sadness as Sakawi is here relating this incident. And also relating because even as of right now, Africa is still under oppression. And so I do relate to that. And then I relocated to the US, where by default, I am identified African American. So I get that too. And then also as an immigrant. That being said, I wonder whether probably you guys have already spoken to the diversity office at the district level, or probably you will. And my other question is whether the indigenous peoples have a cultural liaison in the school district, because I do know the ones that we have for various cultural groups, for example, Arabic, Latinx, we've been getting them recently, and it's been a lot of pushing to get those. So I'm curious whether there are some from the indigenous people's communities. And the other committee that has been getting equity things done is the equity committee in the school district. So I'm curious whether you've already spoken to them or you're planning to, or I yield.
Was that a question, Wangui?
Oh, yeah.
You wanted to know if I had spoken to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee? Was that?
We're in the school district.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is what surprises me. They actually asked to meet with me, maybe, I don't even know if it was I can't remember, 8 months to a year ago, because they wanted to do better for, Indigenous folks in the district. And I had talked to them about getting this book, actually, and given them some feedback about my experiences in this district with my children. And I thought they took it to heart. And, then this happens, and I'm very confused by that. And then also what's confusing is these teachers have access to a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. So why didn't they access this committee and ask them, is this okay to do? Or get a consultant. And then obviously, because the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee knows who I am, and I'm literally a parent at that school, I could have consulted with the teacher and made sure that this was done in the right way. I would have brought in, drummers to actually drum and then taught the children how to do a round dance, which is a secular activity, which is okay to do. So, like this is what is quite surprising to me. So not only do I want like these teachers to get these like trainings, but I don't know what system right now is set up in this school. But obviously the teachers like have free reign and they don't even have to like check in with anybody on what they're doing. And that is very concerning.
Sakaps, I'm curious, do you know if this is the first time this teacher specifically has done this, or is this something that's been going on for a while? Do you have any idea?
I mean, as far as I know in that school, I mean, I think this is the first time they've actually brought in like, that I know of, since my kids have been going to the elementary school, an Indigenous author, to read a book. Like this was quite unique. So, I don't think this is something that's been going on like year after year.
So go ahead.
This is Commissioner Lauren, a couple things. First, what grade was this?
Grade 1 and 2.
Okay. Now I know, I'm talking about high school age, but my daughter went to Liberty, and they actually had a cultural event where it was an Indigenous population that came in, did the dance, and they were, discussing, about the culture. So they know that it's there. It's been done within the school district. So the fact that it's not shared amongst the other schools and grades is kind of alarming, but yeah, it's been done within the last 4 years. So yeah.
This Commissioner Johnson, was that pretty much the extent of the conversation that you had with the teacher? Just wondering.
Yeah. I was in a pretty bad mood. So I'm not about burning bridges. I was polite. And I just, said, hey, like, I don't know if that was culturally appropriate. Where did you get this from? And she said, I know some natives in Chicago. I don't know what that meant. And I said, okay, well, we should probably talk more about this. And, I have some things to say, but I'll get back to you because I didn't want to, it was a weird moment. And then I went and spoke to the principal right after that and told the principal that it was very upsetting. And that's Chris Pisarek. And he's been very helpful. I've emailed him twice now. The first time I asked him to email the teacher to ask to get more info, on what was used, like the material. Cause I think, I can't quite remember what I had asked, but, he came back with these 2 pages from this book, like excerpts from this book that she had referenced. And the book itself is problematic. And so it's just just because there's something is written in a book, it doesn't mean it's okay. Like there's a lot of problematic stuff out there in books concerning Indigenous peoples, in particular, because of romanticization, tokenization, whatever, what have you, even if it's an Indigenous author themselves, everybody knows, there are people that have very different viewpoints on things, and are willing to sell out their culture very easy. So there was these excerpts from a book. So I figured out, cause I wanted to know what they were saying. And in the book, it's it tells them they can just kind of make something up essentially. And then the next email was concerning because the video, because my daughter had mentioned they'd watched this powwow video, which I found also disturbing because why were they showed a powwow video? Why obviously was because the teacher was trying to create a powwow and not knowing that that's really not okay to just do in a vacuum. You don't just do that in a vacuum, so that's the extent of the conversations I've had.
Good to go. Thank you.
Go ahead, Marie.
I would also want to add, I would also want to find out, because I heard circles are also used in the school district, just finding out whether it's cultural misappropriation and how it's being done. But right now, for me, it's just at the level that I've heard they're being used. So digging deeper and finding out the truth of this and how.
Marie?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done.
Commissioner Krebs here. I have several things to say.
Mhm.
First, I'd like to point out the American Indian Religious Freedom Act was established in 1978. That's the year I was born. So Indigenous peoples have only been legally practicing their ceremonies for 44 years. So that's one thing we need to think about. So to see a school, play Indian when Indigenous people have only been able to legally practice their ceremonies for 44 years is just rude. And then when I watched the video, I was really upset. Particularly because right now the Indian Child Welfare Act is possibly about to be dismantled. That protects Indigenous children. Also passed in 1978, the year I was born. Before that, it was completely legal to traffic our children. So as I watch these children, and again, this has nothing to do with the children, right? They're children. But as I watch the children come out playing Indian, I think of these things. So just one thing that you should consider, imagine if the federal government came through Iowa City and took up to 85% of our children. That's what the Indian Child Welfare Act helps to protect. Our children were literally taken. So these are things I think I don't know why the teacher thought this was a good idea, but I think that they need an educational piece. I can't believe that it hasn't happened already. Also, just so you know, here's a picture of me and my children, my two boys. This is my son who was on the Redskins team about 3 years ago. So that was great. So we do have problems in the community, just so you're aware.
Ms. Commissioner Johnson, quick question about the dismantling of what you were just saying that the trafficking of children is about to be, that's there.
So there was an argument that was brought to the Supreme Court. From what I understand, it's a white couple. They're basically saying this is the Indian Child Welfare Act, which protects our children, is like reverse racism. So essentially, when children go into the system, they try their very best to keep them with their people. Okay. So this couple is saying this is basically essentially reverse racism. This should not be a thing. And then I won't even get into the conflict of interest surrounding the attorneys on the case. But anyways, so if the Supreme Court decides that the Indian Child Welfare Act should in fact be dismantled, we will no longer have those protections.
So that means that the children can be trafficked again?
So they can give the children to anyone that, so.
I think the term you might be getting the term
Here.
trafficked. Yeah, we should clarify trafficking.
I was confused about it.
Yeah.
So essentially, children were taken. This is so I'm talking about the boarding school era. They were taken from their families, placed in boarding schools. But what happened to them after that? A lot of them are buried at the boarding schools. We haven't even brought these children home to their people.
Yeah.
And I think I think Commissioner Krebs is using the term trafficked. we're not necessarily talking about sex trafficking. We're talking about being trafficked through governmental systems like, social welfare systems, child protection acts, whatever, what have you. Because for a very, very long time, this government has made it a massive effort to specifically take Indigenous children from Indigenous families and place them within white homes or, Mormon homes. Mormons have a real fetish for Indigenous children. And so because it's in their belief system that we're the 13th tribe of Israel. And we see that as a form of trafficking. In fact, every year, in the city of Sioux City, there's a march to honor lost children. It's not to honor children that have passed away. It's to honor children that have literally been stolen from us through governmental social welfare systems. So after the boarding schools were shut down, what took their place was, child welfare systems in this country. The Indian Child Welfare Act was put into place to stop that, essentially to protect Indigenous communities from having their children, completely removed from their communities. It basically gives tribal nations a say first in what happens to children that are being removed from Indigenous families, so that they're placed within a community context or within a tribal home before they're taken out and put into white homes or whatever homes. And so that's what I think Commissioner Krebs is saying in terms of trafficking. It is a form of trafficking.
Thank you.
I would even argue that it was trafficking. I'm sure there were people who were buying, there are actually bills of sale for children who were abandoned. And what are these people doing with these children? So yes, I would even say that there was an element of even.
Oh yeah. No, and that too. And you're very right. Yeah, that is so true. I mean, you could buy Native kids for like $10, not too what I can't even remember how long ago that was. Maybe like 80 years ago. And then what happens to these children? Yeah, that's a huge question. Right now, Indigenous peoples in many states have the highest concentration rates of being trafficked, sex trafficked in this country, in various states. So there is a link between being in these foster care systems and being adopted by whatever these families or whatever, and then ending up in I guess what's the word, vulnerable situations that lead to even worse situations.
I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just like to say that this is something that I want to be on further agendas. We have more meetings because this is not the first time that I've heard something about the Iowa City Community School District with different discrimination things and different things like that. And it's been Indigenous people, it's been African Americans, it's been Latino people. This is not the first time that I've heard of this. And I also will also say that it is very sad and heartbreaking when I listen to the stories about it, because I'm not going to do ranking or who's the most persecuted people in this country, but you can put 1, 2, or 3, and you can rank them any order you want to with African Americans and Indigenous people. Who's been the most persecuted. So I definitely understand the sentiment, especially with the trafficking thing. I do understand that as well, because, as an African American, the trafficking thing, I definitely been seeing that, and especially the part, putting them in foster care. It's a lot of things that I see with that, with people just of color in general. And this is a thing that I don't want to go off the agenda. And I do wish that we can get to a point to where we can address the Iowa City Community School District, or maybe have them come down and sit down. Let's talk about it. I don't know. We need to get to a point, because this is not the first time I've heard of things like this, especially in the last couple of years. You know, it's been a lot of incidents with African Americans, and you know, I've seen incidents that happened where people of color, you know, they had incidents with teachers, and teachers did inappropriate things, and the only solution that they would have is to relocate the teacher, not get rid of the teacher, not discipline the teacher. They would relocate them to a different school, or they would still be employed. So this is something that I want to keep on the agenda. This is not, I don't want to let this go. So Chastity, I'm letting you know, we need to discuss this more in more meetings, because the Iowa City Community School District, they, at some points, they do a good job. My kids go to that school district, but they need the racial and the discrimination and not understanding different cultures needs to be addressed. Yeah.
I guess I would like to make a motion then, that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission send a letter to the school district and ask for a meeting. So we'll send a letter, like, with, you know, after I get our materials together and write our letter, we can send a letter ourselves, maybe asking for a meeting with them so we can discuss this idea about getting these books. And then, you know, go from there, I guess. So I don't know if that's, I don't know how to put that into a motion, so.
Yeah, we can.
I think that, like, if we were to sort of send a letter, something would need to be drafted and then, like, read before the commission so that we can then send it to the school district.
Spot on.
Okay, so like a motion to, how about you put the motion forward?
Well, I wonder if we can just, so it sounds like you're going to work on writing a letter, and I wonder if, like, Commissioner Harris mentioned, we talk about this, follow up on this at our next meeting, and then like vote to approve that letter at our second meeting this month.
So I want to just piggyback off of that. I agree with that. I was wondering if maybe we would want to create a, what am I trying to say? Not a small group of us. The word is losing me right now. Committee, a small committee. So we can help move this forward. Commissioner Commissioner Novus, if that's okay with you, if you, we can't, as Commissioner Rivera said, we can't push anything right now until it comes back to this commission to be read before us first. And I understand that you want us to go a little bit faster with this. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but maybe there's something in this meeting we can say we can do right now, but the letter is we're going to have it approved at the next meeting.
So can we vote to just write a letter? Can we we'll start working on it? And then,
are we allowed to
that, or if people are willing to do it, I'm not sure that we need to vote on it.
Yeah, I don't think we need to vote on it, but is it possible for us to just give approval now for whatever comes out of the letter, or does it have to come back to us?
I mean, the problem or the potential problem with approving, I do not know.
We just want to be in the dark today.
A letter without everybody seeing it is there's the potential for there to be statements or something in the letter that maybe not all 9 of you agree with. And so by bringing a draft forth, it allows everybody to give their input, their insight. And even if even if there's a few of you who don't agree with the letter, as long as the majority passes the letter, then that's all that's needed.
are we?
I'm going to write a letter anyway. So, like, I'm just going to, like, take some of that and just, like, turn it into, like, I can just turn it into the TRC's own personal letter. And then if anybody has quotes that they want to put in it, you know, please send them my way. I'll just have something for next Thursday or the next meeting, if that's okay with everybody.
Right. That was my question. I was like, are we allowed to, like, work on a letter, like, before the next meeting, like a Google Doc letter or something, or something like that?
See that.
If you do a Google Doc, the concern is if more than a quorum of you are on the Google Doc doing commission business, then that's a meeting. So if you do form a committee, it's best to have that committee be at or under 4 and work on it within a joint Google Doc.
I mean, I just propose that I'm writing a letter anyway. I'll just write a letter and present it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Would you like any other help with anything else?
Yeah, if I do, I'll definitely, I mean, I think I'm going to ask Commissioner Krebs to help me. If anything, I think it's appropriate that Commissioner Krebs and myself work on it. If
Okay.
Commissioner Krebs has the time.
Oh, absolutely. Also, I think one of the most important things is to have backing, because there's such a small population of Indigenous people in town. And I know when I dealt with my son being on the Redskins team, I didn't even get a call back. I didn't even get an email back, and no one cared. So it's important to have that backing.
I would say that definitely, just as being an African American, I heard mention that when we talked about it, how it's similar to people coming to a school wearing blackface, so.
And I
that
do
could
want
be
to
the
point
backing.
out, this
Yeah.
was not the school district.
Yeah, I
This
know
was
that,
the
but I'm
Red
just-
Zone League, football league. So
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to make that clear.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
still,
yeah.
is that still happening?
I don't know. That was last year he played football.
Okay.
I also want to note, like, the use of the R word is sort of like similar to the use of the N word, like we don't really use I just want to make sure that people know that word is not something that should be used if you're not talking about it like in the context like Commissioner Krebs is talking about it.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
My suggestion in the drafting of the letter, and you can take it or leave it, but there is like verbal commitment from the school district in creating a DEI committee. There's commitments in within the city government to 2 commissions read a Native American land acknowledgement, pushing for reparations and justice along these lines. The mayor every year for the last couple of years has proclaimed Indigenous Peoples Day, and so I think that it's important to kind of put a request and recommendations in the context of the stated commitments that these bodies have made, so that we can just show them that, like, this is how you pursue the things that you said that you would.
But would you be so kind if you have the time to like give me a paragraph on that?
I can. Yep.
Like, yeah, that would be really helpful. And that we're not like doing we don't have any quorum issues here with that, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
And the last time I looked at the school district's vision and mission and the training of faculty in the district, the initial training for their work, there is cultural sensitivity and in the mission and then in the vision. So pulling that in, I'm thinking that could also go into the paragraph that Commissioner Kevo is drafting.
And so, Commissioner Novus, your idea is to send this letter directly to the school district, or
I think it'd be nice if we could send it to this. Well, I don't know when the next school district meeting is, and it's unfortunate that we're getting into December because things are going to slow down and things are going to.
I believe
not
it's
sure.
Tuesday, second or
Yeah,
third.
they usually
Tuesday.
meet the second and fourth Tuesdays.
Second
of
and
each
fourth
month.
Tuesday, so-
Usually, but that's always subject to change, but that's their regular schedule.
So would they meet on the 19th? No, they wouldn't meet on the 26th.
No,
Or sorry, the
probably not.
27th.
Not the 26th.
We might be getting into January, but the next meeting, if it's the second Tuesday, would be the 13th of December.
That would be before our meeting, though.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, because it would be nice to present the meeting the letter in person to their next meeting. So I guess we'll just have to send it.
So I feel like we need to find like a resolution to what we want to do and how we want to move forward, and that's what we need to kind of get.
I'm not sure that a formal motion needs to be made at this point.
Right,
We
that's what-
will continue the conversation, and I think specific people have specific action items that they're going to follow up on.
I do have a couple of questions though. Since this could, I know our first action item is going to for that you are putting forth is to send out that letter, but since we don't have the budget right now, I'm wondering if there's anything else that we can do, and we're still in the limbo of waiting for city council or for the proposal and everything. Is it possible to bring in people that want to share their truths? Is it too early to do that? Since this is something, since we do have the platform to talk about this right now.
Actually, this is a really great idea because, like I said, there's another member of the community, Indigenous member of the community. Well, I have two members that could probably come and share their truths about this because one of them witnessed something similar like this at another school in the district after the fry bread thing. I haven't had time, so this happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but then I was traveling. I just got back from Chicago. It was Native American Heritage Month. So for us, that's like full on. And you all know that we do Truthsgiving. So it's been a really hectic time for myself and our Great Plains Action Society. So we haven't had time to even truly attend to this until literally tonight, or to talk to people like Commissioner Krebs, so I did talk to another Indigenous member of the community who said that they witnessed something like this at another school. So I think that it would be great to have herself and then also Daniel Velasquez, who was handing out the fry bread, who might have seen something. And then also this youth, Indigenous youth that goes to one of the high schools here. I think it's City High, maybe. I can't remember what school they go to, but they've been experiencing things like this for years. So I'm pretty sure as well, Commissioner Krebs might have some things to add. And maybe it's not just about the school district, right? Maybe it's just about the community in general. The fact that there's a team as of last year in this school, in this city, that is called the R word is unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. So yeah, we could have something where we have Indigenous folks come and talk about their experiences. Why not? It's not like the city's helping us with anything, so we might as well just move ahead and at least just have some people come talk, since this incident is pretty much just bringing it up anyway, right?
I definitely agree that there's a lot of different targets for a message like the one that we're going to be, sending. And I think that the base letter could have two recipients, one city council and two the school board. And we can also vote at the same time next meeting to put out a press release saying that we have put out this letter, and to educate the community on briefly on what exactly the incident was and what these bodies should be doing about it. Right.
I agree with that. That was the next thing I was thinking. We should talk to the media about this at some point. And I also would like to say, as a non-Indigenous Black woman, I would just love to be as much support as possible for our fellow commissioners that have dealt with this, from working from behind as an ally. So we want to, as a Black woman who understands what it's like when people put too much on put too much on us to deal with our own issues. If you do need help and you don't want to deal with it on your own, I just want to say that I would like to be there to help you as well.
Thank you so much. It's why I came here. That's why I was really glad to be on the TRC, because that's what we're here for. So truly, I think the bulk of our work, will just be drafting this letter and putting together, the evidence, if you will. But after that, just working together as a team, moving forward with, having, folks being able to testify and meeting with the city and the media, things like that. It would be very helpful if the TRC could help with things like that.
Okay.
Understood.
Awesome. So is there a motion that we're coming to, or we don't need a motion? Okay.
This will be an agenda item. in
We will
meeting.
next, yeah, we'll continue to be an agenda item until we deem it's not necessary anymore.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I'm just thinking, our city and our county, are we always going to be having these incidents? Because I'm remembering, I think a month ago, KCRG, there are two cases going on, and these are coming out of the U of I and Kirkwood, where the nurse, and I sent the article to you.
Yeah, I read that. I
So,
seen it.
yeah. So in our jobs, you get those cases, somebody just being they know they can just, even if you're trained up to whatever level, just tell you you're deficient, and they know
Are you talking
they'll
about?
get away with it.
Are you
and they
talking
have
about
to
the one where
fight.
they lowered the lady's caseload and they wouldn't let her have?
Yeah,
Yeah, I read
it's
about that.
going on. And then there the Kirkwood and the U of I professor goes, remove that thing from the top of your head. And the schools think that's okay. So now with this case, will we just be having just each case and going on and to court and not thinking it's just easier to be culturally sensitive, and the trainings that are going on in the school district, the people that are being trained, they've started training themselves, but not really being serious. Things at least to me, changing at a very low pace. Thank you.
Well, it seems like we have some action items. Are we ready to move on? I did realize that I did not open this topic up for public, so I will go ahead and do that now. If there's anyone in the public that would like to comment on what we just discussed, we'll go online first. Please raise your hand. And since there's no one raising their hand, we'll go to in the room. And now we'll move on to agenda item number 7. And it's books and materials sent by Divided Community Project. Commissioner Mohammed wanted to bring this topic up. So I'm gonna let you start the discussion.
Okay, so for me on these materials, we received a few different things lately. One, a practical guide to planning collaborative initiatives to advance racial equity. That was from the Divided Community Project. And then we've also received Colorizing Restorative Justice. So these two sets of materials, since we haven't really been meeting a lot lately, and I did also see the agenda item for moving to monthly meetings rather than biweekly. And as we're also talking about getting this whole budget approved and going forward to next steps, I just don't want to not really be doing anything at all in terms of the education piece in the meantime. Just making it easier to hit the ground running when things get started. But also because these materials have been sent to us from some of the only people that have really been paying attention and putting something in for this outside of the commission members this entire time. Just wanted to make sure we were respecting that contribution and at least looking at this information. As an example here, since I did have this shared, I don't think I can share my screen right now, but
Give me a second and I can help you out there. There you go.
okay, there we go. So we look here at the practical guide to planning collaborative initiatives to advance racial equity. So this one honestly really isn't even really that long. And if we were to look at going towards the first meeting in January at looking at this, so it starts on page 3 and it really, the conclusion is actually only 1 page. So it's about 51 pages in total. So if you think about a total of a little over 30 days to be able to go through this, wouldn't really even be that much reading per day. And if you look at the amount of text per page, and the actual topics that it's covering. So I think this is a really good way to hit the ground running when things get to the next steps, whether that's a budget getting passed or not. So especially with everything we're talking about today, with getting more involved in the schools, putting together action plans, et cetera. This is a great history on commissions such as this and things like it for instituting changes to advance racial equity, starting the healing, and more. So it's all about commissions, councils, task forces, and really diving deep into the things that are important to get clear between all the different stakeholders and also lessons learned throughout these processes. So I just think it'd be a really good idea to look through this. Again, not every page is really even that long. A lot of like bullet point format in a lot of it, a lot of graphics. So it's about 31 pages or so. But yeah, I would hopefully just like to be able to talk about this in more detail if we're able to go through it in the meantime for the first meeting in January. And even if people are wanting to cover it together, I'm even happy to put together Zoom meetings between smaller sets of commissioners to review it together in pieces. If one half of the commission wanted to focus on half and the other half wanted to focus on the other, and then come together and educate each other, could do it that way too. Just want to throw those ideas out there and see what you all think.
I just want to sort of emphasize the relevance of the practical guide, the spiral bound that we have, because we're mentioned on page 18.
That's what we just.
There's the sentence reads, some appointing authorities select all persons of color, for example, California's Reparations Task Force, Iowa City Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and the NYC Racial Justice Commission. And so certainly like this has been written with commissions like ours in mind. And so I think just flipping through it, thanks for the reminder, Commissioner Traore, that we have this available. And I agree that when we have the resources and tools to help us, we should be using them, and there should be a personal commitment for that as well.
All right.
Well, so I agree with you. And thank you again, Commissioner Traore, for bringing this back to our attention. And I also want to be respectful of people that are going to be observing any holidays in the next month. And if you simply just don't have as much time to read the whole thing, even though I do see how you did point out it's not as much, there's not as much words on each page. Is it possible that we can say that by the next meeting, the first of next month in January, can't believe it's almost January, that we would at least be able to discuss half of that reading, just to make it a little bit easier? Or I think that's a little bit more fair. If you can make it past that, that's great. I'm going to definitely try to do that. And I also, as has already been encourage everyone to try to reach out to each other and just kind of discuss it amongst ourselves throughout that time as well.
Yeah, like I have it at home, and I can definitely start working on reading it. I have it at home, and I didn't, what he just pointed out, we are mentioned page 18, and I didn't realize that. And I have the book at home, and I'm going to definitely start reading it. So
okay, so we will try to we'll have it as an agenda item for the first meeting of January, if everyone's in agreement. I don't think we need to vote on this. And then after this one, we'll work on the other book that we received, if that's okay with everyone. Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed. Is there any other discussion on this topic?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate the book in my toolkit, because as faculty, I teach racial justice and research on it and publish on it. So I appreciate this book, especially because it's very hands-on. And of course, there's that piece that we mentioned there, and in the California Task Force, a fellow counselor educator was in that one. They concluded. Yeah. Thank you.
If there's no one else, we'll move on to the next agenda item. And I will open up for public comment for final proposal for facilitator services sent on November 21st. Anyone online that would like to comment on this agenda item? Anyone in the room that would like to comment? Okay, commissioners, any thoughts on our final proposal?
Commissioner Merritt, unfortunately, due to the timing, of when it received by the city and what it's going to have to do before it even can get to the city council. It's going to be, January, February before it's even ready to get to the city council. So,
Do you have an idea, Stephanie, at all, what time you think this could be in front, the earliest?
I don't. So city staff received it on November 20th.
Mhm.
So we are meeting the week of December 12th to go over it. And I should have, more specific details and hopefully a better timeline for the TRC after that initial meeting. But in terms of some of the things that we have to do is we have to go through, there's collaboration of several different organizations. So defining the scope, services, and deliverables of each of those separate entities, creating agreements that are agreeable to the parties involved. Also looking at the demands within the proposal in terms of what resources the city has, what resources the city doesn't have, and what we will do to bring those resources in. And based upon that, presenting the full proposal to the city council for their consideration.
Can I ask who is involved in all of that pre-council work?
So it would be the Office of Human Rights, the city manager's office, and the city attorney's office.
So encouraging that, the proposal has been put forward and people are working on it, right? So nothing is being done.
Mhm. The last time we put something in front of city council, it took how much, like at least a month or two to get in front of them. Is that correct?
I would have to, I don't want to just say that, yeah, that's correct. I will say this proposal is a lot different than the other proposals the TRC has received. The first facilitator was one person.
Right.
And then the second proposal was one firm that had actually responded to an RFP. And so some of those deliverables and some of those resources were clearly defined as a part of the RFP that they submitted. And so this proposal is not quite identical to proposals that the TRC has received in the past. So
That makes sense. Any other?
Commissioner Troy has his hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted to bring up on the proposal side and the whole thing about that getting passed. So that's also part of why I just wanted to push on the education pieces in the meantime, since we don't really know when this is going to get passed or if it will be. And also just wanted to remind everyone, in case you weren't all aware, we do also lose technically a city council member after the end of this month. So Councilmember Weiner, so she's done after December and moving on. So also the piece of there's the potential that this is only voted on by 6 councilors rather than 7. So also want to have us all keep that in mind and just keep doing what we can in the meantime to just make sure we're advancing the work of the commission as much as possible. And I don't know if that changes things or considerations or how we approach the next steps or next weeks for anyone else, but just wanted to make sure you were all aware of that.
If I thought that they would be self-appointing a person to replace Councilwoman Reiner.
Yeah, I did speak to a few of the council members, and so it's actually an open application process, and then out of the applicants, someone is selected. So I was also told that after just like getting some assurances that this is actually going to be available in multiple languages, so more people have opportunities to even go for this, since it's not a true election, but rather an appointment. But with that comes the factor of the more people that do apply, the longer this process potentially takes. So I don't know how many people are going to apply, but I know of at least 2 or 3 people that are going to apply or already have. So.
Okay.
And the earliest they, have things even open or close to being closed is sometime mid-December, I think.
Right.
Mid-January, sorry. And that's all I have.
Any other discussion on this agenda item?
There's,
Oh, and yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. This is V. Fixmo Rise. I just wanted to speak to the commission and just say that, we, as the proposal team, are really committed to the proposal. And so, want to be as responsive as possible to whatever the city has to kind of jump through those hoops. We're all very, very well versed in contracting and all of that kind of thing. So just wanted to reassure you that, we will be as responsive as possible. And, the city can do this, and we're just very excited. And so I just wanted to kind of speak to that and let you know that we're here. We've been here. We're going to remain here, and we'll be as responsive as we can, knowing that this is obviously pressing and very urgent. And also, I just personally wanted to say, just to throw my full weight behind all of the things that you were talking about with Commissioner Nobis, and fully supporting any of the things that you need to address immediately, having, people come and speak. And it doesn't have to wait. Nobody wants to be told to wait. And so just wanted to support you all in that too. And thank you for continuing to do the work. It's certainly, time well spent. And I know that you're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, you're learning, you're growing, and you're addressing community needs. So just wanted to say that personally, but also just wanted to reiterate that we're here and we're ready to respond to whatever the city's questions, legal issues, whatever, we're ready to work through it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item. Okay, the next agenda item is vote to change the bi-monthly meetings to once a month. I'll first open up to public discussion online. Public discussion in the room. Okay, I'll start off by saying the reason why I put this on the agenda, because the last few sessions before we came back, we had been talking about we should move to once a month. So that's literally the only reason why we had this agenda item, but I would love to hear other commissioners' thoughts on this. Go ahead.
My thought on it is that I don't want to move to once a month, especially with the issues that we discussed this evening, with the indigenous thing and the school district thing. We need to keep that. I don't want that to go away. And I don't want that to go away. And I think that we need to talk about that more. And then with the uncertainty about what our budget is going to be, we need to have discussions about if we can actually find a way to bring people in and talk until our budget gets done. We need to keep, because that's a thing that I don't want to let that go away, because just listening to, when we was on that item number, which was number 6, that was just heartbreaking to hear it. And I think we need to just keep that up. And I think we need to talk about that more. And I'd definitely be willing to engage that, because it's not only just one community, it's a lot of communities of color that have dealt with things in the Iowa City Community School District. And it's just, that's something that's kind of what I believe is our charge, is to deal with those things like that, to make recommendations and talk to people and listen to people. Unfortunately, we have to go through the loopholes with the city to get the budget approved, but we need to have discussions about how to find a way to be able to listen to these people and get the testimony that we need. And so that's my opinion on it. And I don't want to move to monthly, not at this point. And then also, we got to remember too that we had to get an extended mandate, and that's going to end in June of 2023. And that's going to end, and we're going to run out of time. So I don't want to cut short that time that we have to discuss the things, unless we're going to go and get a different mandate to extend it some more. And that's my only thing. So if we have more time, then I would say, hey, we could switch to monthly, but we're running out of time. The snow is going to melt real soon. It'll be June, and going to be out of time.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we did add that as part of the proposal that we would ask for an extension.
Okay, okay.
Is that
okay.
correct? Okay.
So we
This,
did,
yeah, we did
Okay,
add,
that's good.
we
Okay.
will be asking for that. So that extension
Okay, thank
should go
you.
through 2024, if I believe correctly.
okay. I just don't want to run out of time.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm going to go to Commissioner Novus, who has her hand raised.
Yeah, back when we were going through all the drama, and the basically people like literally trying to decommission us essentially. I was all for these once a month meetings because I couldn't handle it. And it felt like things were not getting done. But like the idea of doing once a month now feels counter to, like, it seems like we're just going to slow ourselves down, because it feels like we might just get some momentum now if we can get this budget through, then we can start doing some stuff. So I think we should stick with twice a month.
I would just, go ahead.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't vote to go to a once monthly meetings at this point. The only sort of best solution or replacement for twice monthly meetings would be if there was a commitment of commissioners to meet in subcommittees on that other Thursday of the month, or at least one other time, so that more action could be done in a subcommittee format. But at this point, like others have mentioned, I think that we're showing how the uniqueness of the TRC and currently in its ability to respond to urgent community requests and things like this. Certainly, as you, Chair, have been doing, I think that it's appropriate. If there's nothing that's going to be on an agenda, if no one's suggesting agenda items to you, then canceling a meeting is always an option. But at this point, let's go ahead and continue bi-monthly as scheduled. And then once we have facilitators and once we get into the motion of things, we have a completely new rhythm and vibe. And then we can we can determine again if a change in the scheduling needs to be done.
I want to go to Lauren.
This Commissioner Merritt. One thing about having the bi-weekly or whatever else meetings is that it's not like a full 2 weeks of work that can be done before the meeting, because an agenda information has to get to Stephanie to post so many days ahead of time. So it really ends up being 1 week of action. And I don't know if that really is enough time to do some of the things we want to do in between the meetings. But I do agree. I think if we had, designated subcommittees that are actually doing some of these work items in between the time. And if we have information to present on the third Thursday, we do that. But it's going to be very difficult to get some of this stuff done in 1 week and in time to present, to have an agenda posted. And that's only my concern.
Right. As a response to that, right, we've already discussed an example of how we benefit from twice monthly meetings with agenda item number 6 today. And so we've already identified action items in this meeting for people to follow up on, and those will be presented at our next meeting. If we didn't have bi-monthly meetings, then we wouldn't be able to vote on a letter until January, which I think would be too long.
And I do agree that we need to do more subcommittee people. We need to do more meeting outside of, subcommittee meetings. I can say that I haven't been doing a good job of it myself. So we need to do more, smaller group meetings.
I don't think you should blame yourself for that, though. This whole thing's just been such a mess. Once we get, a budget approved and have our consultants, of course, subcommittee meetings and action items, those are going to be easy because it's going to be laid out for us and we're going to have a plan. We're going to move forward with intentionality. Right now, we're still sitting here trying to get a budget passed 2 years later, right? So, I understand, and I just don't think anybody should feel bad that we haven't had many subcommittee meetings going on, because we literally don't even know what we're allowed to do or what we can and can't do at this point, because we've been waiting in a holding pattern for so long. So, I think we should stick to the 2 meetings a month until we, get our budget, and then we'll have like more action items. And then, we can definitely go into like, subcommittee meetings once a month and, full meetings once a month, or sorry, you know what I'm trying to say.
And it's not no offense to, any commissioners here, but it's certain commissioners here that we are definitely ready to see a budget get passed. We've been in here for the long haul, like it's been, it's newer commissioners, which I respect, and they're trying to, get the gist of what's been going on, but it's been, a long time, we need to get that passed, and we need to get action going. And that's why I failed to realize that, in our proposal that we did get the extension, because we definitely going to need that, because it just feel like we didn't have enough time to do anything with all this wrestling and other stuff that we did. And I just, so with that, I'm
like this Commissioner Johnson.
Go ahead.
I've always believed that we need to have I think we need to be as constant as possible. I wish we were being advertised more, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things I imagined when we joined on here was that if we were being advertised by the city and the city was taking us seriously, I want to say, if we had more of an opportunity to reach out to the public and give public the opportunities like what took place on agenda item number 6. And it's incidents like that happen all the time. That's also one of the reasons why I always said we should always have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There's always going to be issues. There's always going to be things that we need to make sure that we stand up for people when they do need us. Because for one, we are all minorities who have been there, done that, and understand what it's like to have someone or have things put against you. And you need a voice, and you need champions to help you out in the process of that. I think when momentum starts moving, let's keep it rolling. I mean, I'm very busy myself. I have a lot of things to do as well. Trust and believe. However, I repeat the same thing I've said time and time again. We are doing something that's so important. It is so helpful for the future. And we might not see the actual super duper impacts of everything, but later on down the line, it makes me think of people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, people like that. They stepped in before us, and they made it so we're able to have this commission right now.
Mhm.
We might not feel it completely, and it might be hard on us, but we have such an important role to make it 3 times easier for, if not infinitely more, for our children down the line, period. So I would like to stick to it as much as possible. And I mean, when it comes down to sub committees and everything like that, just let me know. I'll do the best I can to make it there. That's all there is to it. So, yeah.
If I just could just add in, I hear what everyone's saying, and obviously we'll go with what the commission is agreeing with. I still think that we could get so much done with subcommittees, and if we were able to free up, if not this month or the next month, the second Thursday, that would give us a little bit more time, because we are tied to the quorum, and it does hinder us in some ways at times. And it would be nice to be able to do some actions out in the community. But I do hear what you all are saying, and it could be beneficial right now. I also hesitate to do too much, since we don't know what we can do yet, since we are tied to the proposal and we're tied to whatever the city council says we can do. I'm definitely on board for doing whatever we can beforehand. Definitely am tired of sitting here twiddling my thumbs, like people have said already. Yeah, those are just my thoughts. So I think Commissioner Wangui wanted to say something. Were you going to?
No, I just wanted to piggyback on what Commissioner Cliff has said about it may look as if nothing is happening, but already our commissioner has been put in print by someone. And thinking back to what Commissioner Sakawis have presented with Mary, about this incident, when my children were going to school in the Iowa City School District, I'm just wishing I had a commission like this to come to when my daughter in the locker rooms and in the whole building in City High School, when she ran cross country, somebody came and told her she just went to the pictures and cut off her head. Yes, it's pictures. That's what the police told me, that no crime had been committed. But I said I wanted on record anyway, because I do not know whoever has done all that may actually do something worse. So I wished that time we didn't have TRC. So it was the police, and I told them I wanted them to, thank God the person didn't do anything else, or the people. And I went to the office, the principal's office. They, like all the other, what I perceive as racist incidences, it was dismissed, and she survived to serve in the district in this kind of things. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add, that we're doing something and you see it in the future. And I'm glad we have TRC to talk about incidents like Commissioner Sakawi's brought to us.
Okay, so it seems like we're going to stick to our bi-monthly meetings until further notice, so that we can continue working and get this momentum that Commissioner Novus mentioned. Is there any other discussion on this topic? I will say that I would, we do have someone in the audience. Go ahead.
Hey, sorry, yeah, V. Fixmo Rise. I just wanted to add, because Commissioner Harris brought this up about the extension of the commission being in the proposal. And this is a side note, and it just reminded me that I forgot to ask if the commission is going to formally ask for that, or if it's going to stay in the proposal. And I realize this is a little bit of a derail, but since he brought that up, I just wanted to point that out, that is there an official ask for it, or?
The recommendation was voted on at our last in-person meeting, and it's in the October 20th minute notes. So the TRC recommends that City Council extend the timeframe for the TRC until December 31st, 2024. So that recommendation has been made. I don't know what other force we can put behind it. So it's up to them.
And the reason I was asking, because I wasn't at that meeting. So, and that
okay, great. Got it. Thank you so much. I apologize. Just wanted to double check on that.
Yeah, that's okay.
We make mistakes.
Yeah, I'll do.
Okay, well, before we move on to the next agenda item, I would suggest that we all take time to think about if we want to do future subcommittees, what those ideas could be. Maybe we can talk about in the coming meetings, and actually try to jumpstart that as we're waiting for the next steps.
Yeah, just reach out and we can figure it out. That's
Okay, so the next agenda item is announcement from staff and commissioners. I'll let Stephanie go first. Okay. All right. And just a reminder, you're not allowed to engage with each other in these announcements. Go ahead.
So I can go first with my announcement. I'm formulating some things and I'm working on some things. I've realized in the past month or two, especially with the cold weather coming around, that in the city of Iowa City, we have a serious problem with homelessness. And I'm going to be working on that on my own, maybe even trying to formulate some type of, I'm going to work with some different entities. I'm also going to go about it the formal way to get the issue of homelessness in Iowa City on the agenda, because I do want to talk about it. Because if you drive around Iowa City, especially in certain neighborhoods, you can see it's definitely a problem. The city and the county have done what they can do with the funding, but I think that more needs to be done. They have certain rules and certain things they have to follow, but it's really becoming a problem. It's something that I see, it breaks my heart when I see it, to be honest with you, when I see people sleeping at bus stops, or, I see people sleeping outside or sleeping on the ground. And I know people have problems in their life that may cause them to get in those situations, but we, as far as I know, Iowa City is a compassionate community, and we need to address that some more. So So that's my announcement. If you see me working more with homeless people in the future, just expect that. And I'm going to be pushing that agenda because it's just in a place like this, it just shouldn't happen like the way it is. You know, with all the resources that's around, it just shouldn't be the way it is. If you go in Southgate, you know, the shelter house has so many facilities that can help people, but it's just a combination of homelessness and substance abuse and a whole bunch of other things that just needs to be solved and needs to be talked about. And it's kind of similar to what we talked about, what's going on in the school districts. It's things that's being ignored. So with that, I yield.
Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Johnson. I wanted to say congratulations to Senator Weiner. I appreciate her and the times that she has that I've known her and seen her work and what she has done for us here with the TRC as well. And I wish her nothing but the best of luck. Other than that, I would like to address. I talk with a lot of kids, and I'm still dealing with some issues with kids with a lot of these fights in school that are getting ridiculously, dangerously violent, and just they're horrible. And I would like to put something on the agenda item to attack that a little bit more and on a constant basis, because nothing bothers me more than to hear one of my kids to feel the fear of death just to go to school. Because when I talk to them and they say things about how they're doing great in school and they're doing well and they want to continue, and they tell me about all these crazy, dangerous situations that just keep getting thrown at them, I can't imagine how you could get good grades like that. And that has to be addressed in a more positive and productive way. I have some thoughts and ideas where I could possibly help, but I mean, I'm all open to it, but I really want to kind of tackle into this a little bit more if I can. So only other thing I got is I hope everybody had happy holidays, and hope it next holidays same. So that's it with me.
Commissioner Dillard, I have two announcements. One is professionally from my organization, the Neighborhood Centers of Johnson County. I'd love to invite all of you to our Cocoa and Cookies event next week. It's an open house. It's going to be fun. And we're doing it's going to be our 50th anniversary next year in 2023. 50 years of working with so many marginalized communities in this area. And also introducing everyone to our newest executive and associate director. If you remember, they are the first for this organization, a Black power duo, two Black women in leadership roles. And we would like to argue the first in this community. And just want to celebrate all of that with people in the community as we share a new vision of what we hope to accomplish in the next 50 years. And the second one is more personal. I'm going to be doing another what do you call it? Theater performance. Yes. A cabaret, the 15th, 16th, and I believe the 18th. If you would like more information, I can give it to you. It's going to be at the James Theater, and it is a Christmas cabaret. It's fun.
So what day is the Cocoa and Cookie?
So the Cocoa and Cookies event is October 9th from 4:30 to 6:30. It's at our Pheasant Ridge Neighborhood Center, 2651 Roberts Road. I can send you all more information. Did I say October?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sitting here very seriously saying October, December. It's already December. December 9th. It's next Friday.
Okay,
Next Friday, December 9th, 4:30 to 6:30.
Where's it at?
The Pheasant Ridge Neighborhood Center. We will have a hot cocoa bar and cookies, and it'll just be a fun time. So that's all I have.
As we've talked a lot about the school system here in Iowa City Community School District, there's a lot of conversations at the state level about funding for our public schools. I've had the opportunity to, over the last couple of months, to follow with some of the school and family advocates to see the different social, emotional supports that they provide our students, many of whom are disadvantaged in structural ways. And again, a lot of those needs are especially among students color. There are proposals that would shift millions of dollars away from public schools to give other kids vouchers to attend private schools. If the schools are already strapped, what I'm seeing is that the people who are trying to do good in the schools don't have the resources available to do what they can for the families who could use the most support. And certainly if public funding gets slashed, then the people who will be affected are disproportionately students of color. And so please just be paying attention, contact your Iowa House representative and Iowa state senators, and make sure that they know that this is not good for our kids. Thanks.
Another thing I almost forgot to, on the 17th, we have our Jingle Bell Brawl. That will be at I-Corps Boxing Club. It will be a fun event. We're going to make it very Christmas-like, even though it's a boxing event. We're going to have fun with it. I almost forgot about that completely. Also, I would like to thank the city of Iowa City and congratulate the city of Iowa City for bringing the Golden Gloves. The first time ever in the history of Iowa will the Golden Gloves be here in Iowa City. And I'm very, very happy to hear that. It'll be a great show right here at the Graduate here in Iowa City on the 1st of April, I believe. And I'll have more information on that later on down the line. But this is historic. It's the 100-year anniversary nationally of the Golden Gloves. And now we are bringing it right here to Iowa City. So that's a beautiful thing for the near future right here in April. So that's all my other announcement. I almost forgot about that. Thank you, Iowa City.
Any other commissioner announcements?
Yeah, this Saturday, the Christian Faith Academy on Broadway, they have Saturday school and have invited families. I am attached to the school since it began because a lot of the students who go there, it's an elementary school, they identify as African. And for me, as an educator, this was something much needed because a lot of the children of color, and that is why I get very triggered by an incident that like the one Sakawis talked about. So in the academy, they are protected from a lot of these things, just like being a coordinator of NISA African Family Services, an organization like ours. And I thank the state and the federal funds that we get because the people we serve get protected from some of the racial injustice, although even as we advocate, we also do get discriminated on. So on Saturday, I am invited to the school to go and talk about sexual and domestic violences in our communities because NISA's mission is to eradicate violence in our communities. And if anybody is near there or a parent, it will be good to see you. I will speak until 11:05. And the other thing, on 12th, Kenya, my country of origin, will celebrate December 12th. We celebrate our Independence Day from colonialism, political independence. We always remind ourselves because it's a work in progress, Africa getting herself out of economic independence from the exploitation of the West. And yeah, today, everything we've been discussing has really reminded me of that. But I'm looking forward to December 12th because at least we do have political independence and we fly our own flag. Thank you.
If there's no one else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.